let's explore how meditation could help you to radiate peace. Wow. This morning's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. How do I radiate peace? The individual began and then elaborated. People have reported that folks like the Buddha and Thich Nhat Hanh as having a sort of calming presence, a sort of benevolence that seemingly radiates off of them. How can I be this kind of person? How can I make people feel comfortable and at ease simply by being present? This is a beautiful question, reflects a beautiful intention. Well done. Let's begin with broad brushstrokes. The first brushstrokes is the cynical approach. If you dress like a monk or a Buddhist Lama, a Tibetan Lama, and people are going to pretty much give you the benefit of the doubt. They're going to see you through the lens of their preconceptions. Perhaps you are familiar with the old saw that a closed mouth gathers no foot. Perhaps it was Samuel Clemens or someone else. Let me know. Who was it who said, if you remain silent, people might think you a fool, but if you open your mouth, you will dispel all doubts. If you remember who said that, and of course that was a sloppy paraphrase on my part, please let me know. Now let's take a more spiritual approach. We'll begin with yin and yang. As you probably already know, approximately 100 years before the birth of the Buddha, it is said that Lao Tzu composed the 81 poems of the Tao Te Ching. It's a small book. You can blast through it in a week, and after a year, you can read it 52 times, or over the course of a year, you can read it 52 times. You'll begin to notice patterns. You'll begin to notice that the author elaborates many symptoms of yin and yang, and then, despite the ravings of many stupid white people, actually endorses yin over yang. He doesn't try to reconcile them. He clearly states that we are to always choose yin. But how does that apply to Buddhism? In the early transmission school, folks began to attribute these attributes to the Buddha's wicked cousin Devadatta. The attribute of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. So can you see that if you personified these attributes, people will not feel comfortable around you? Let's contrast this with the attributes attributed to Gautama, who was given the title of the Buddha. Is it not possible that when we are truly flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind, people are going to feel more comfortable around us? But wait, there's more. Now let's take a neuroscientific approach to this whole Megillah, shall we? I had a handful of technical snafus, so let's just make sure everything's copacetic. Okay. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, but not in the fun, tingly way. And that sadly that applies also to meditation teachers. And there are many meditation teachers who will encourage you, directly or indirectly, to rely upon your medial prefrontal cortex to actively concentrate, or to rely upon your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex to actively contemplate. The majority of these teachers, they're sincere. They are not malicious. They are just really lazy-minded. These are the people who say, I heard it, therefore it must be true, without ever stopping to test what they heard or comprehension of what they heard in the laboratory of their body and mind. So when we do this, when we rely upon active concentration and active contemplation, fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging studies, reveal that our blood collects at a nodule known as our amygdala, found in the bottom of our limbic system, which functions, this amygdala, which functions as both the seat, or I should say as a seat of both aggression and anxiety. Guys, when we are just bubbling cauldron of anxiety and aggression and self-loathing, do you really think anyone's going to feel comfortable around you? However, when we replace active concentration with passive mindfulness, when we replace active contemplation with passive meditation, our blood mass shifts from our amygdala to this pink thing that looks kind of like a catcher's mitt. This pink thing found just a few centimeters behind our forehead. This pink thing that the big kids call the anterior cingulate gyrus, but which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons and the seat of empathy and compassion and love. This is why the greatest Tibetan lamas have insisted, the greatest Dzogchen lamas of Tibet have insisted, that the highest love is spontaneous and uncontrived. That is why this meditational archetype, or the individuals comprising this meditational archetype, are depicted as beautiful. But wait, we've skipped a step. How does this passive mindfulness work? What are the nuts and bolts? Glad you asked. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are accessing our sympathetic nervous system right here on the right-hand side of the screen. This bad boy is not found in the 3-pound supercomputer between our ears. Au contraire, this bad boy is ensconced within the thoracic or ribcage region of our spinal cord, despite the artistic liberties taken by the graphic artist. No, the sympathetic nervous system has not evolved to indulge either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration. Well, what has it evolved to do? It has evolved just to notice, just to perceive, and to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. The epitome of vulnerability is nudity. Perhaps that is why Samantabhadra, Samantabhadri, Karma Mudra are painted without their clothes on. So yes, every time we inhale, we perceive. We perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We perceive emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Yes, we can perceive the external and the internal, the physical and the mental, the pleasurable and the painful, the interesting and the boring, the glorious and the grotesque. This invites the question, what are we to do with all this gurk that we could notice? And the answer is quite simple. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, whether we mean to or not, whether we feel it or not, we are accessing our parasympathetic nervous system, illustrated on the left-hand side of the page. Ensconced within both the lower lumbar region of the spinal cord as well as the brainstem, right up yonder. This bad boy is wired to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Now remember, we're using completely different parts of our central nervous system. Concentration and active concentration, active contemplation, right up here in the prefrontal cortex. Passive mindfulness, passive meditation, or in our sympathetic and a parasympathetic nervous system, together as a unit known as the autonomic nervous system. Don't worry, there won't be a pop quiz. Now, I'm going to take a moment to insult your intelligence and remind you of what you already know. This 3-pound supercomputer between our ears may be clever, but it's also kind of inept. It's kind of like Urkel. Can I do that? But Urkel had a heart of gold. He wasn't malicious, but he was a twitchy kind of a kid, wasn't he? So we can, if we treat our brain like Urkel, there's a way. Not only can it stop hindering us, it can actually support us. Here's how. If we ask our brain to support us on the path of perception, simply by silently and mentally reciting the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation, and if we ask the exact same Urkel-like brain to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation, I kid you not, you will experience, possibly for the first time in many years, your brain actually cooperating with both your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. And with that, you'll take your first steps into a much larger world. This whole process does, regardless of the claims of the minions of patriarchy, this process need not take aeons. It can be done in days. Now, most of us, sadly, are raised in a culture where we are not taught the art of sitting on the floor. So, although the Buddha inferred that for someone who was raised in his culture, they could do it in a week. For us, it got to take a little bit longer because we were raised in the debaucherous West. So here's how you do it. If you set aside 5 minutes every 12 hours to practice sitting in a sustainable way, notice that the feet are turned so that the insteps are resting on a folded yoga blanket. Notice that the legs are not twisted grotesquely into a pretzel, but one shin just rests upon the other. Ask any kid who's taken ballet, they'll tell you the knees are hinges, don't turn out from them. The hips are ball joints, turn out from the hips. But don't force it, let gravity do its work, and within a week or two, sitting in this position will be effortless. Exercise this sitting, and to do so, it's as simple as setting a timer on your smartphone and coming to a live or pre-recorded live stream here on YouTube. Everything I do is free. Attend 5 minutes every 12 hours your first week, 10 minutes every 12 hours the second week, 15 minutes every 12 hours the third week, 20 minutes every 12 hours the fourth week. Can you see what's going on here? By the conclusion of the 15th week, you will be comfortable sitting for a 15-minute lesson and a 60-minute practice. By the end of the 16th week, don't be surprised if you feel like you've mastered the Eightfold Path. Don't be surprised when you feel like you're practicing the Eightfold Path spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. Yes, you will still feel the full spectrum of human emotions, but they will not define you. They will not control you. I do look forward to practicing the fine details of this path with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you wouldn't have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So come, let us turn our attention to this morning's practice text, and I hopefully will, in a few hours, will begin posting the latest practice text onto the download page again. Got out of the habit of that. Okay, welcome to Easy Meditation, Buddha Cat approved. Let us begin by bringing the four bases of mindfulness, the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. Let us bring the four bases of mindfulness into the practice of love and letting go. This is known by many names, including Tantra, Mahamudra, Mahayoga, and Tokal's leap over the confusion of jealousy and pride. Ooh, look at that. Let's see here. Please chant with me. Now, what I like to do is put my hands in the puckered palm position in front of my sternum. I do not do this to superstitiously invoke a real or imagined celestial entity. Why do I do this? Because it feels like my subtle energies, my subtle electromagnetic phenomena are coalescing within a channel behind my sternum but in front of my spine. Is that really happening? It depends who you ask and what kind of equipment they're using. Let's chant. Rather than indulge or controlling tendencies with our bodies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these wise words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors for literal statements, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. Okay, so we're going to begin. Here we go. Strap in, folks. All circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this body or form. It is deliciously ironic that we're using our inherent self-centeredness as a tool to transcend that exact same self-centeredness. So we're taking all these syllables of all these words and shrinking them down to just 6 syllables. During the inhalation, please silently and mentally recite into form, and you may want to inhale enthusiastically. During your exhalation, please, as you relax into your exhalation, please silently and mentally recite all lots melt. Now, once again, it's not our job to actively visualize or believe or emote. If all we do is silently, mentally, and passively play with these words in harmony with our breathing, we will find ourselves making progress on the path. Now, I would like to do this for 4 reps or 4 rounds, assuming that a round is simply one inhalation followed by one exhalation. So I'd like to invite you to count with me these 4 rounds by advancing the tip of your left thumb during each inhalation. Please count with me as together we practice into form, all lots melt. Please chant with me. Whoopsie. All bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent. Let's just move this so there's less confusion. All bodies and forms could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this communicational speech. Please notice that melt is a metaphor of impermanence, and absorption is a metaphor of interdependence. Now let us count upon our left ring finger. Together, all interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this mind. Please count with me upon our middle fingers. All together now, all together now, all together now, all together now. I think that was from the White Album. Okay. All minds could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow lights that could delightfully absorb into our vast empty void. Notice the words blissfully and delightfully, because as a sci-fi geek, my imagination has been conditioned for the grotesque. As if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into our vast empty void. What do we mean by void? Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on our bright and beautiful cloudless moon, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be not graspable to the hand. Let us now count upon our left index finger. Now, I must risk the wrath of the International Court. I forgot what they call it, The Hague, the something court. Anyway, I must now commit the war crime of subjecting you to jumbo face. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so we have counted 16 rounds upon our left hand. Fabulous. Upon our right hand, we can now count sets of 16 rounds. One set of 16 rounds. Two sets of 16 rounds. And please forgive me if I sound like the Count from Sesame Street. 3 sets. Okay, so... Oh, folks, I'm a card and must be dealt with. Let's tap button 9. So, having performed gentle, fun, easy contemplations, now we're going to bring whatever we spontaneously notice. I forgot a few words. Into the path of awareness and letting go. Now this path, this groovy path, is known by many names, including Dzogchen, Sutra Mahamudra, Ati Yoga, and in Tibet as trek shows slice through the duality of dread and desire. So we've already explored the basic technique during the opening lesson. Quick reminder, this is uber passive. We don't control the intensity of our breathing. When we feel ourselves breathing in, we slap the label this. When we feel ourselves breathing out, we silently and mentally recite the verb ease. Okay, so here's the thing, is we are allowed to notice everything. We're allowed, so whatever sight, sound, sensations, flavors, scents, or the like, we're going to label it this. Whatever emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, or imaginings we experience, we're going to call it this. So let's practice this for several sets of 16 breaths. We are already wired during each inhalation to spontaneously generate a vertical traction between our tush and our head, as if Mother Nature wants us to remove our head from the warm, dark, smelly place we sometimes keep it. Allow me to contradict what many people have told you. There are no emotions that are intrinsically shameful. If you watch enough movies and read enough novels, you'll see any emotion glorified in the right context. So our job is to neither flee nor chase emotions, but to simply notice them and release them, and to content ourselves with the only label we need ever use for whatever it is we experience. The label, this. Having climbed to the contemplative cruising altitude, together as a team, let us meditate as profoundly as Ahsoka Tano on Lothal. Let us bring the 4 bases of mindfulness into the path of love and letting go, which is a fun way of just referring to the second fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. 50% of the Eightfold Path pertains to loving kindness. The great Tibetan meditation master Karma Jigme Rinpoche insisted that the easiest, the most effective way to practice the Buddha's path was to essentialize it. And he insisted that the essence of the Bodhisattva vows was to wish others well, which is exactly what we're going to do right now. And by the way, wishing others well can be considered an act of morality. Please chant with me. May all minds of all beings know be as peacefully wise as the enlightened mind of a real Lord. Imagine Buddha symbolized by a declare one suitable seed or bija mantra. The screen's going to go berserk. That's just what it does. I'll see if it needs correcting. Please chant with me. Whoopsie. Look at that. May all relationships, all speech of all beings know be as joyfully loving as a real Ramajan Buddha's communication symbolized by the 12 suitable mantra. Together. May whole bodies or forms of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health seen in Buddhist statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Devi or Yidam archetype of enlightenment such as Kuntu Zangpo. Well, that's weird. Let's see if I can fix this. What's going on here? Ah, okay. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the good fortune or boon, as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land of Auntie. Again, let us bring whatever we spontaneously notice into the path of awareness and letting go. Oh, this is what I want to do. Derp, I got confused. That happens sometimes. Let's go over here. Okay. Quick like a bunny. Let's hit paste. And copy and giddy up. Let us bring the 5 aggregates into the path of awareness and letting go. Please chat with me. I gotta make sure everything's all lined up. Okay. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever our body or form we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Oops, wrong button. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever sensations such as pleasure, pain, or not that we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into more exhalation, whatever appraisal of pleasure or pain's intensity or volume we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast or empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever impulse such as fucking, feeding, fighting, fleeing, fainting, or fawning we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever awareness of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, or imagination we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Again, let us bring whatever we spontaneously notice into the path of awareness and letting go. All right, thank you for your patience. Let us bring the 5 mental poisons into the path of awareness and letting go. Excuse me. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever hate we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as not graspable as mirror-like wisdom's clear void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever pride we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as not graspable as the equalizing wisdom of primordial voidness. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever craving we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as descending wisdom's bliss void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever jealousy we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as all-accomplishing wisdom's void intellect. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever confusion we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as all-pervasive wisdom's awareness void. Let us bring whatever we spontaneously notice into the path of awareness and letting go. One moment, if you please. Okay, thank you for your patience. Let's bring the 5 dualistic perceptions into the path of non-duality's awareness and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of beauty or ugliness we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of just sights. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of discord or harmony we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of simply sound. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of foul or fragrant we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of simply scent. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of disgusting or delicious we might have noticed during our previous inhalations could begin to melt into the non-duality of simply taste. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of pain or pleasure we might... Let's try that again. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of pain or pleasure we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of simply sensation. Oopsie, wrong button. Let's try that again. Let us bring whatever we spontaneously notice into the path of awareness and letting go. Oh, that's weird. Let's try that again. Let us bring the 5 thoughts into the path of awareness and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever emotion we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever intention we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as our vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever cognition we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever recollection we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever imagination we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Again, let us bring whatever we spontaneously notice into the path of awareness and letting go. Let us seal this morning's practice by percussively chanting love and letting go's wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. May all minds of all beings lucid yet void now be as enlightened as a Buddha's mind symbolized by a one-syllable bija. May all speech of all beings resounding yet void now be as loving as a Buddha's speech symbolized by a multi-syllable mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual yet void now be as healthy as a Dhamma cup depicted in Buddhist statuary. May all lots of all beings appearing yet void now be as fortunate as a pure land of Lord depicted in Buddhist paintings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 9 1/3 hours, I would very much like to return to the today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may The Force be with you always.